Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me an opportunity to also make a contribution to this fairly important bill, the Heritage and the Museums Bill of 2023. Madam Speaker, the Swahili say, mwacha mila ni mtumwa. Mwacha mila ni mtumwa. Just, Madam Speaker, if you have traveled around the world, you will realize that many countries have put best effort to preserve their heritage, their culture. When you go to a country like Morocco, you will know that these are Moroccans. In this country, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, if you go to Maasai land, where Senator Oloikina comes from, you will immediately know that these are Maasais. They have preserved their culture. Unfortunately, some of the sub-tribes in this country, including my own, in Kisii, we are forgetting our heritage, we are forgetting our culture. We are losing our identity. You go to Maasai land, I'm sure almost 90% of the Maasai people can speak Maasai. Yes. And they are proud of it. They are proud of that culture. When you drive Narok to Kisii, every Maasai will be carrying a traditional, I don't know what's the significance, but you will find every Maasai as that traditional rungu, Madam Speaker. Tourists who come to Kenya may not know that there's a tribe called Kuria. Maybe they know about Kisii because we have Chinkoro. But they may not know, Madam Speaker. You go to a country, if somebody has come to Kenya and visited Masai Mara, they will, most unlikely will they mention Kikuyu sub-tribe or the Kisii sub-tribe. But they will tell you, are you Maasai? Because, Madam Speaker, the Maasai have been one of the most successful tribes in this country that have retained their heritage, their culture. It's really sad. Even for me, as a father, I feel sorry for myself because our children think that it's very fashionable to speak English and not to speak your local language. I mean, some of us went to school where from class 1 to class 4, Madam Speaker, the language of choice was your ethnic language. We had a book called Ratemo, I don't know, there's nobody here from Kisii. We had a book called Ratemo. And that was the introduction to our class 1, Madam Speaker. Nowadays, unfortunately, and I don't know why the rain started beating us, nowadays the introduction is Kiswahili, English. How I wish we can find room once more, because the Chinese are controlling the world, but they speak Chinese. They're not embarrassed, they're not ashamed of it. You go to Japan, the Japanese still speak Japanese language, but they're still able to be pace setters in technological development. But in this part of the world, we are teaching our children to think that if you speak your ethnic language, then you are primitive. That should not be it, Mr. Speaker. There is a very good reason, Mr. Speaker, why the Almighty God divided us to several tribes, so that we have an identity that we are proud of. Like I'm proud of being an Omogusi. That's why my names, I'm proud if you call me Okong'o or Mogeni. You can link me to my ethnic group of Omogusi. So I support this bill, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, and from the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I'm one of those Kenyans who are very proud of my own heritage and my own culture. When we grew up, Madam Speaker, we used to go through an initiation where the community used to be involved. When you are facing circumcision, the celebration was not for one family. The celebration used to be for the entire village. You invite your neighbors, they come, you celebrate, you take the traditional liquor for wazees, and you are moved to the next age group. So I hope, Madam Speaker, that this bill will take us back to the drawing board. We see where the rain started beating us, and we can really be proud and preserve our heritage, our culture. Coming to the museums, you travel to other countries, and you'll be surprised. The queue you will find in a museum, when you go inside, there isn't much. I'm sure we could get more that we can preserve as a country than what you will get out. Even having pictures of our legend. Who will not like to come to this country and they see a photo of Kipchoge Keino put somewhere in a museum, and they will pay? Madam Speaker, I'm told the tourists that we attract to this country is roughly around 2 million, with our population of about 50. Countries in Asia that really have nothing for people to see, like Japan, tourists visiting Japan in a month, not only in a month, is close to 3 million. In a month. I'm told Rwanda, because they have something they call mountain, chimpanzees or something, is ahead of Kenya. Is ahead of Kenya. So this is one way, Madam Speaker, if we create museums in many of our counties, is one way of attracting tourists. And tourism, we all know, is one of our highest foreign earners for our country. So we need to grow our tourism in order to support our economy. We are going to have a budget of 4.2 trillion, Madam Speaker. If we are serious that budget should be supported substantially by our local revenue, the way to look at is tourism. The way to look is tourism. If you go to central Kenya, there is a lot that we can learn about MOU. Get us pictures of the likes of Kimathi, Dedan Kimathi, the wife of those people who fought for our independence, Madam Speaker. The weapons, I don't know. Don't we have people, Madam Speaker, in central Kenya who kept rungus that were used to fight Muzungu, or a spear that killed a Muzungu in Nyamira, and then the larger Kisi? We are told that there is a man who is called Otenyo. Otenyo speared a Muzungu, whom Kisi had nicknamed Nyaigoti. Speared a Muzungu in Kisi town and killed the guy. And that spear, Madam Speaker, here is kept somewhere by the Kisis. I'm sure if we go to central Kenya, we'll find a lot that can be kept in our museums, and then we interest our visitors who are coming in to visit various counties and see what the various sub-ethnic tribes in Kenya are proud of. That will be part of our culture, and that will be a way of attracting tourists. I've gone to museums in some countries out there, and Madam Speaker, you see barely nothing, but you pay money. Because when you land, the taximan, the guy at the airport, will go to great lengths to interest you to visit the museum. But when you go there, there is nothing. How many of us have jetted into Kenya through Jomo Kenyatta, and there is somebody to interest you to visit a park that is just within the city? And how many countries have a park within the city? There is nobody. You are entering Nairobi, there is nobody to interest you and say, visit a national park, which is just in the boundaries of the city. Nobody. You go to Dubai, the moment you land, there are people queuing, trying to interest you. Go to the desert safari, I don't know where. And when you go to desert safari, these are our roads, rough roads here. You just see vumbi and nothing. So we need to do a lot. I want to appeal to our CS tourism to tap into the potential that this country has in tourism. And she can bring us a lot of foreign earnings if only she tapped the potential that is there, the untapped potential in the tourism sector. In Kisii, we have soapstone. There is no country in Africa that has the Kisii soapstone. There is none. It's only found in Kisii, Tabaka, in an area called Tabaka. There is no any other in South Mogrango. Even if you go to West Pokot, that stone is not there. Go to Kajiado, it's not there. We go to Murang'a, it's not there. It's only found in Kisii, in Africa, no any other country. But many tourists come to Kenya, they go to Masai Mara, full stop. Come back to Nairobi, board a plane, back to Europe. But if we had a desk at the airport that is marketing that industry in Tabaka there, I'm sure we'll get a lot of revenue. And you know, we sell those carvings. When you go to Europe, you'll pay a leg and an arm. We used to do that as arts and crafts when we were young boys in school. Then, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that we are allowing the board to have a full mandate of recruiting the MD for the National Museums of Kenya. But then again, we have a problem that is cropping up in this country. Madam Speaker, even where you create a board like this, I was in a political function where somebody was pleading with the president to assist somebody to be appointed, and where we as members of parliament have passed a law that says recruitment will be competitive and based on merit. You are a lawyer, Madam Speaker. You know the agitation by lawyers preceding the 2010 Constitution. You know what the MOU between Raila Amolo Odinga and President William Ruto is about. It's about fairness. It's about inclusivity. It's about eradicating corruption. So I feel so sad when, as legislatures, we sit down, we pass a beautiful piece of legislation, we send it to the president signs and says, as a country, we want Kenyans to be picked to sit in a board. We give them power to invite applicants, they interview them, and the one who merits will be appointed. But again, you find us, politicians, again want to go back to the president and say, assist my person to be appointed. That's not nice. That goes contrary to the spirit of our 2010 Constitution. Like now we are doing interviews for IEBC. Madam Speaker, you appointed us through a motion on the floor of this House. We went to NADCO. We spent a lot of time, burned the midnight oil. We brought to the floor a fantastic piece of legislation. And we said, let us appoint people to sit in the panel that will interview commissioners to IBC. Because we don't want to take the country to what was preceding the 2007 elections, where people felt that the appointment of the commissioners was not free, it was not impartial. The people who were picked were not going to preside over free and fair elections. But still you find politicians are talking and saying, Your Excellency, we want you to appoint for us so and so in IBC. Yet the law has given that task to an independent panel. Madam Speaker, we are sending the wrong message to Kenyans. We are going Kenyans to have it in their heads that one of the players in the political contest is the one appointing the commissioners. We should do public participation, tell Kenyans that we have commissioners in office, let them be given an opportunity without any interference to interview candidates and let the best. Anybody from any of the 47 ethnic tribes, Madam Speaker, can be a chair of IBC and the others can be commissioners. And we run an election that will not invite another 2007 situation in our country. So I hope the board that is proposed in this bill, Madam Speaker, will take the assignment seriously and appoint the managing trustee of the National Museums of Kenya freely, without any form of interference from anybody. That's how we'll create a country, Madam Speaker, that respects rule of law, where power is distributed, where the concept of a limited constitution is entrenched. You know the concept of limited constitution, that power is spread and shared by many institutions. And that even where you have a president, his powers are limited by what is in the constitution or in statutes. If the power to appoint has been given to a panel, the president has got no authority. If power to appoint has been given to the Public Service Commission, let them assert their independence. The Speaker, I sat, Madam Speaker, in Kenya National, in Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission as a chair of the board, interviewed the executive director and 4 assistants without any phone call or anybody attempting to interfere with that assignment. And even if you said no, what will happen? Nobody will kill you, because you are doing a job that has been given to you by the Constitution and by our statutes. So I want to urge, as a way of also having a good heritage as a country, let us have this spread of power, president, ministers, interview panel, independent commissions, so that everybody can have a sense of belonging to this beautiful country called Kenya. So I want to support this bill, Madam Speaker, and hope that once it's enacted, it will go a long way in ensuring that we as Kenyans can again be proud of our heritage, be proud of our culture, so that when I go to West Pokot, I'll find people of West Pokot still proud of their culture, proud of their heritage. Same for me as Omogusi, same for you from Kikuyu, same to my sister here from Kajiado. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Osotsi Godfrey.